Here's POV. What the? Is this real? I widened my eyes as I opened my phone. I could imagine that I could see a good thing today even though I felt a vain feeling at this moment. I scrolled the screen and I saw many news saying that some people believe in me. I felt happy, the tears that caused my runny nose to me slowly disappeared. Miss. Here is right. We need changes. We need equality. She is right to become a true Luna. But aside from those good comments, the majority of them still disagreed with me. Lol. Nice trick, miss. Here. Only fool will believe that bitch. WTF. The low-class mixed blood is now out of her mind. Ha ha. Rich people's mind is always for equality but it doesn't see their lives. Lol. Sniff. I sobbed while reading the information that now become a trending topic on social media. I could not believe that there were some people that were still there to believe what I said in the campaign. All of them created a glimpse of hope for me. The hope becomes the dim light that leads me to the depth of the ocean-like problem. 1. 2. 3. 300 of the people around the werewolf's world believe in me according to the inventory of some sort of people. And even if they were just a dot to the number of werewolves that hates me, it really gives me hope to fight against odd. I could feel the trembling of my hands as I read lots of comments that they threw at everyone. And in the middle of my happiness, I suddenly felt emptiness. Yes, I could say that those people who believe in me give me hope, but the only person that taught me how to fight was not here by my side. Sigh. I found myself bringing deep thought. I didn't know how to talk with Severus after the argument. I wanted that time to fly faster so it could heal the fight that we have recently. I took my phone and dialed the numbers. I needed someone to talk to me right now. The number who have dialed is currently busy. Please try to call later. Unfortunately, Ken was unattended. And I knew that this time, Sandra was not there to talk to me since she have work. And the only man that I knew already was Alejandro. I dialed his number and fortunately, he answered it quickly. My heart beat fast. I knew it was not the right time to speak to him since we have a past relationship before. I took a deep breath before I talked to him. Alejandro. Are you busy? Nah. Why? Do you want to hang up? He replied, and from the tone of his voice, I felt that he was now in good condition. Actually? No. But I want someone to talk with. Can you? My voice was still trembling since he knew that I'm not sure we were like him. Sure? His words made me smile for no reason. Really? I ensured him because I was really not sure about the things around me at this moment. Yeah. See you later in our favorite area. He replied, and I could believe that he was still there to listen to my story again. Oh, okay. I briefly replied before I hung up the phone. But after that, I suddenly thought about Severus. Is this called cheating if I will have a date to another guy that not my true mate? I thought, asking myself. Here, are you sure that you will gonna have a meeting with Alejandro? Harsha asked me, and it really puzzled me. I don't know. But for now, all I know was to have someone to lean on. Alejandro is not different from me. He is a good man. You know it, Harsha. I replied, but there was still a line of confusion that draw in my mind. Sigh. But he still did not accept your rejection, right? Harsha added, and it made me feel surprised. I remembered the time that I rejected him and he was still not accepting it. Because before the breaking of Clara's curse, Alejandro accepted the offer, but he didn't say that he would accept my rejection. I know it. But I'm sure that he will accept the fact that I found my own mate. Even if he didn't accept it yet, I know he will not do anything that is forbidden. I replied, but I knew that Harsha would never think about that since she have a romantic past with Gao. If you want it, go. Fortunately, Harsha let me handle the situation. I quickly set aside the negative thought and immediately took the direction toward the place where Alejandro and I always want to visit. It took 5 minutes before I get there. And with every passing second, I did always thinking about the words that Severus threw at me. And those words really pierced my heart. I really blamed myself for not being brave to face reality. Yes, I was afraid that people would hate me the way they hate mixed blood like witches. Severus was important to me and he knew that, but how could he say that I didn't put much care to him? Although all I wanted was his victory. Might be that he taught me how to be fearless, but he also taught me how to be who I am. Kring. Here, where are you? I answered the phone and I was surprised as I heard Severus asking me. I stopped for a while on the roadside, but I didn't reply to him. Because I didn't want to talk to him for a while since I wanted to clear my mind before talking with him. Here, please, where are you? He was still asking me when I ended our call without any words to tell. And how surprised I felt when I saw his messages. I felt guilty, but I chose to calm myself. I blocked his number so I could not receive any calls or messages from him for a while. I started again the car and continued driving. After a while, I reached the place. Like before, it really gave me a pleasant ambience. The cold breeze healed my thoughts. I parked my car and entered the magnificent garden on the very edge of the town. It was located on the cliff of the hill, but there were lots of things that could be a source of new energy. Clean air and delicious food to eat. I walked toward the dining area hoping that Alejandro was there, and like I thought, he was sitting in our favorite area, waiting for me to come over. I wore a smile and approached him. And even I was fully covered at that moment, he still knew my identity. Have a sit. He stood and offered me a chair. I looked around and when I saw a few people eating, I agreed with him. Here. What's your plan now? He suddenly asked me. I removed my sunglasses and looked at him. For now. I want some time to have someone to lean. I replied seriously, which made him smile. That's why you called me, right? He replied, and I felt shame as he said that. Pardon. But not. Actually, I called someone too. I denied and he nodded his head. Like him? He replied, and I was shocked at what I heard. He was looking behind me and I really felt nervous at that moment. Here's POV. Like him? Alejandro's voice echoed inside my ear. I looked straight into his eyes and I felt nervous when I saw the seriousness in it. My hands were shaking suddenly. I really don't know why. But all I know, for now, I felt nervous. Hey. Are you okay? And my nightmare was interrupted when Alejandro waved his hands in my front. I blinked and nodded my head even though I felt uneasy. I didn't want to let him know what I'm thinking. Why, yeah. I replied, trembling in my voice. Are you sure that you are okay? Because you look pale. He asked me again, having a glimpse of worry in the tone of his voice. I slowly raised my hand and touched my cheeks. It was cold and had a few beads of sweat. I tapped it and gave him a brief smile. Don't worry, I'm okay," I added, while I still hiding the feeling that I felt right now. "Sigh. If you not feeling well, you can ask me. I will send you to your pack right away." Alejandro touched my hand and I felt awkward. I quickly moved my hand from him so we would have no intimate action. Anyway, who is the one you talking about recently?" I asked to sway the topic that we have. "Oh. Ha ha." He laughed instead of replying to me. I stared at him and I saw from his expression the happiness that I did not see before from a serious man like him. "I'm just kidding, Hillary. Hee. You look so serious, huh?" he added, and I felt better after hearing that, even though it was not a good joke for me. "Eh? Really?" I asked him, knitting eyebrows in surprise. Because at first, I thought that Severus was behind us. And it actually made my spine to chill. "Yeah. It's just a joke here because you look so serious today. Speaking of which, who are the ones you talked about to be here also?" Alejandro asked me, which made me bite my lower lips. I didn't know what to say. I am cornered, but I need to say anything about that. Actually, I asked my cousin, Ken, to come here. But he said that he will be here after his work. But for now, I'm not sure if he will come," I replied, and I ensured that he would believe in me. Don't you want me to be with you today?" he asked me, pouting his lips. No. It's not what you think. I just call him for something important and it's all about business." "Yes. It's business," I denied, and he nodded his head while he looked for the good menu. "Anyway, I heard the news. And I see you recently in the media." He looked at me as he spoke. I put in to listen as I heard him. I let him to speak out his thoughts. But I was afraid that even Alejandro would hate the mixed blood like me. Since he was the victim of the witch before. Actually, I really don't want to have a date with him, but he was the only person that free to talk to me. Here. From the first time I met you, I felt strange. You are different from the other woman. You are beautiful within and outside of your personality. And I do believe in your words. Your fearless action in front of those crowds makes me so proud of you. His sweet smile gives me hope. Thank you, Alejandro. I appreciate your compliment to me, I replied, and for the second time, I felt happiness. You don't have to thank me here. Actually, we people are the ones who need to thank you. Because of your braveness in facing the problem alone without using your wealth and power, we learn how to stand right. Your voice, even if it was unimportant to the majority, for now, it gives up another hope for the bright futures of this world," he said, and I was touched by his every word. I could not imagine that those words that I wished I could hear from my real mate would be heard by this person. So you mean, you are the one who supported me?" I asked him, and I felt some tears that started to build in my eyes. "Yeah. I will be your #1 supporter here." He smiled at me and my tears started to fall. "Oh? Why are you crying? Did I hurt you with my words?" he asked me, wondering as he stood and touched my both cheeks. But I didn't answer him. I'm not in the right position to speak since my tears were escaping through the storage of my eyes. I slowly raised my head to face him and my tears continuously flowed toward his palm. "Shiv. Don't cry here. I'm here, okay? I know how hard you're facing right now. But you can do it. He swept the tears that flowed down. His warm palm made me feel better. I nodded my head in agreement. And he slowly departed his hands to me as he slowly sat on the chair. I swept the remaining tears before I asked him about the issue. Alejandro, aren't you angry about my identity? I asked him directly since he said that he was the victim of Claire before, who was also a witch. Actually, not. I was surprised by his reply. And I felt that he was sure of his words. I knitted my eyebrows and I wanted to ask him more. But seemed like he will never let me wait because he quickly spoke again. Here, even if you are a mixed blood, you are still you. And no one will change your fate. But you show more than that. You show how genuine your love for your people is. You show respect and care. And even if Claire shows me less than my expectations, you change my perspective about witches. His words hit my ego. I could not believe that Alejandro has a great mind to think deeply than I thought. I looked at him seriously, and even how many times I looked at every angle of his eyes, his feeling was real. Thank you, Alejandro. Actually, I didn't expect this from you. But I think I have a good decision to have a meeting with you today. I replied, wearing a sweet smile on my lips. It's a small thing here compared to the things you sacrifice. Don't worry. I will be here for you like what I promised before. He added, and he slowly touched my hand and I didn't refuse. Actually, I didn't have any feelings toward him, but the memory of the past ghosted me. Here, always remember that you are the right one to be praised and beloved. And I see the struggle that you face through your journey as a true alpha female. And I am so proud that even if it was a fake bond, you become my Luna. He stared at me and took a deep breath before he added, and today, I accepting your rejection to give you peace of mind and another time to love. I was very happy to hear those words. Yes, it was painful to him, but I felt the deep emotion that was embroidered on his heart. I didn't know if I would be thankful or not, because for today, all I know was, he gives me happiness. Then. But before I spoke, I saw Alejandro immediately stand. He was facing the direction behind me and the smile on my face slowly vanished. I slowly moved away from Alejandro and looked back. And I was shocked by what I see. Third-person POV. Here put in shocked as she looked back. Severus was standing 10 meters away from them. The time seemed like froze itself when he suddenly approached the two. Alejandro looked at Hirre, but he doesn't feel anything bad that would happen between them. He was acting like there were nothing happened between Hirre and him. Might it was right that they were acting like just a friend, but for Severus, they didn't know what he felt after seeing his Luna with other guy. Alejandro averted his gaze away from Hirre and he looked back at Severus. He smiled and called his attention. Hey! Wanna hang with us? Alejandro called Severus and it made Hirre to glare at Alejandro. She secretly clenched her hand into fist, telling Alejandro to stop talking. But Alejandro did not get it because he thought that Hirre and Severus's relationship was still okay. Severus looked at the other two seriously. There were no trace of any emotion on his face. However, Hirre couldn't breathe easily when Severus stood beside him. Severus POV. I called Hirre 20 times. And not only call, but I sent her many messages, but she did not accepted it. I was worried and I blamed myself because I shouted on her that might cause of her absence in every call I did. Sandra, Do you know where is here? I asked Sandra, but I never told her that I met her before she left. Sorry, but I don't," she replied, and I lost my hope to find her since she was the last person that I supposed to give me answer. Because I tried to call all her cousins, but they did not give me the exact location of here. And it really become a great burden to me. I immediately went back home to find her. When I was driving toward the pack, I could not help myself not to think about Hirre. I felt sorry for her, and I knew that my words was give her a reason not to answer me. I saw the tears on her eyes, and I could not blame her if she was still angry at me. Suddenly, I remember one person that would help me to find Hirre instantly. I immediately took my phone and dialed the number. "The number you have dialed is now currently busy." I felt something strange when the number I have dialed was also nothing. I felt jealous even though I was just thinking about that. I decided not to go to her pack to look the possible place the two of them went to. As long as I remembered, there was a good place in the top of the hill where Hirre loves to visit. And I fastened my car to reach that cafe on time. My heart beats fast every time I was getting closer and her scent was invading me. I reached the area around 4 minutes and parked my sport car. My footsteps were heavy when I reached the cafe. I scanned the area, and it really high-value cafe because of the greenish surrounding. There were also some people eating and having fun around. But my enjoyment was turned into a dark mode as I caught by the family face, Hirre and Alejandro. They were happy having a chit-chat as my observation. "What the hell are they doing here?" Gao asked me indignantly. I clenched my hands and I wanted to destroy the path I would take. But I did not want to make a scene here. "Let's see," I replied to my wolf calmly. I knew my true nature, and the picture I saw could turn me as a real beast. But I stayed calm as Jack could. I sat for a while and let the nightmare face me. I trusted Hirre, and I knew she would never act beyond her limit. And like what I saw recently, they seemed like having anything serious talked. But the things that I witnessed suddenly made my blood boil. Alejandro and Hirre were looking at each other, while the hand of the other party was holding Hirre's hand. I stood quickly as my feet wanted to interrupt their busy days. I hated the view, and it really made this fancy place into horror. I stood calmly and stepped closer to them. Actually, I didn't want to let them notice that I'm coming, but this jerk Alejandro called me. I acted that I didn't feel any anger toward them since he invited me. But Hirre could not look at me directly. I felt her uneasy feeling since I found where she was. But to Alejandro, I thought that he did not any have idea about the struggle that our relationship facing right now. "Sorry. But I guess you both have fun?" I calmly asked Alejandro, since Hirre was still sitting on the chair and looked like she doesn't care about my feeling. "Ha ha. No. Anyway, just take a sit," he replied, wearing a bright smile. I looked at him seriously and I saw a hidden pain inside those smile. But I did not care about it, and I sat on the other chair between them. Speaking of which, I'm the one that called here, but she refused my invitation first. And I didn't not force her to come with me, but after a few moments, we found each other here. How ridiculous, right? She is sitting here, and actually, she came first here. He added, laughing on his own story. I thought that he was telling the truth. But I didn't care about that, because the important to me was Hirre's safety. I didn't know how to react, so I just smiled and took a nod. Anyway, I will not stay here too long. I have some to do. I excused while I'm glancing here. It's okay. Actually, I have to go too. My beta called me for some business. Alejandro replied as he stood. He tapped my shoulder and he called Hirre's attention. Here, I have to go. Thank you for your time. Alejandro smiled at Hirre and I felt jealous. However, I knew that Alejandro have no intention to make me feel this way. Before he went out, he looked at me and gave me a brief smile before he talked again. Severus, take care of Hirre. I smiled at him and he walked away. When I saw him exiting the cafe, saw Hirre was going to stand. I held her hand to stop her. She slowly looked at me and I felt something strange in her eyes. She sat again and I was thankful since she did not make a fuss here. Hirre, can we talk? I asked her while my hand was still holding her. She kept on looking at me and slowly nodded her head. Aren't you shout on me? Aren't you angry? She asked and I felt pain as I heard those words. I realized that I hurt her even it's not my intention to do that. I'm so sorry. 3 words come out in my mouth. I knew that I was a future alpha but saying sorry was not shame at all. I am so sorry too. I did not feel your situation, Sev. Hirre replied and I was put in surprised as she say that. I guessed, Hirre have something to tell me, so I grabbed the opportunity to say everything I have in me. Hirre, actually I am the one who did not feel your situation. I do always let you do such things in the front of those people without my presence. I could not resist myself not to tell her those things. And every time I looked at her eyes, I saw the endless happiness that I wished to see before. Thank you, Sev. But for now, all I want was your safety. Thank you for taking care of me, but please protect your career first. I knew it's hard to the both of us to choose the things that we valued the most, but please trust me. I can do everything to win the battle and I hope the same to you. Hirre replied and I was very glad that she was still thinking about me even I knew we both have a downside situation. But you need me. I said, worrying. The world we have was not the best for the mixed blood like her and I felt that she would not win if those people were still mocking her. Don't worry about that. I will call someone to help me. She replied and I was puzzled who was the person she called for. Here's POV. When Alejandro accepted my rejection, I was very happy but there was a little pity and pain I felt toward him. I wished that he would find the true fated mate since he rejected Claire as his Luna. While we were talking about some stuff, I suddenly sensed Severus' smell. I wanted to hide but I decided to show him that I didn't care about him. However, Alejandro called Severus before he left our table. I felt worried because there were incidents that they were going to fight because of me before. So every time that I saw them crossing their path, I was scared that they would fight again. Fortunately, Alejandro did not show any anger issue towards Severus. Actually, I expected that Severus would make another argument with me again because he saw me with Alejandro. But instead of argument, I heard sorry and acceptance. My heart jumped in joy because of his manly voice. His attractive aura could not deny even he was saying sorry to me. The way he say those words changed my peso toward him. For me, he was now a caring and gentle man ever. However, even though I felt that way, I didn't tell him about Alejandro. Cring. Suddenly, his phone rang and he immediately took his phone as he excused at me. Please excuse me, he said as accepted the phone call. I looked at him and I saw the anger on his eyes. Before he ended up the call, he took a deep breath and he looked at me seriously. "Sorry here, but I think I have to go first," he said seriously. I was puzzled and I asked him, "What's wrong?" I asked, worrying. "The king ordered me to go to the Western Pack. The hooligans were attacking them right now," he replied, and I was shocked on what I heard. But it's dangerous. Why don't you send some hunters before you go there?" I suggested, but he shook his head. The hooligans that now attacking the small pack was stronger than before. Hunters are not enough to fight them. They need my help, he replied, and I was little surprised about the hooligans. "Please take care. Hooligans are not a simple. Don't worry, I will send my army to the Western Pack," I added, and he nodded his head as agreement. "Anyway, I have to go for now. Take care." He stood and he went closer to me. I smelled the fragrance of his body when he kissed my head. I held his wrist and closed my eyes, wishing his safety. "Take care too," I whispered before he departed away from me. I saw him walking alone. I took a couple of minutes before I fixed myself because I decided to go back to my pack. I'm sure that they also received the news about the hooligans. But I could not resist myself not to feel worried about his safety. Even he was strong, the numbers of hooligans that might there were still unknown. Only I wanted was to caught one of those hooligans alive to tell us the route of those attacked. But I have something to do that much important than those F to the power of seeking hooligans. Before I left the table, I took my phone and dialed Andrassi's number. Fortunately, she accepted my call quickly. "Andrassi, can I ask some favor?" "Yeah. What's that?" she replied, and I thought that she was not busy today. "I'll tell you later," I added, and she was puzzled about what was my real intention. "Where are you? I want to meet you right now to talk about that," she asked, and I decided to stay for a while. "I'm in the Hilltop Cafe. I will wait you here," I replied. "Okay. See you," the other party said before I hung up the phone. I took a deep breath when I put back my phone inside my pocket. I was thinking about the plan that I would say to her. After nearly half hours, Andrassi came. She was typically a boyish woman. But she was gifted by the gods for being a beautiful one. She have a fine cut hair and a slight masculine body. In her aura, she was really a true picture of alpha female. Because even her pack was small, she was really a genius in terms of human law. Like me, she wanted changes to the world we have. "Have a sit." I offered her a chair and she immediately took it. And I did not waste my time and quickly moved to the topic that I wanted to tell at her. "Andrassi, I know that you study about the law of the human. And I wanted you to share me about the important law that we need to adopt," I said directly, and she smiled at me briefly. "Okay. But it was hard for you to take those law to the world, they bashed you already," she replied, and I felt that she was right. "Listen. If you immediately enforce the law, many people will make you a laughingstock. They will disobey the law since it came to the woman like you, which is mixed blood. You need to start it to the small to make it bigger." You have a point. I needed to think every steps I make for our future. And it really hard to start it, but what if I conducted the law in my own pack? What do you think? I replied, and she looked at me directly. That's what I pointed out. You need to do it with your packs so the whole world learn it from you. She replied, giving me her wide smile. I nodded my head as agreement. I would show to the world the power of law. I would make everything better and turn the twisted ideology of the people to one right direction. Thank you Andrassi for the suggestion. I hope that you will give me the list of law that better to be part of my steps. I added. Noted. I will entrust it to you here. I know you can do it. Prove them that you can beat the problem that we all cause. She said, and I was very happy since I have Andrassi that could be a better advisor. Thank you Andrassi. Don't worry, you pack will be always safe from those hooligans after I know the real hypocrite and the mastermind of this chaos. I clenched my hands into fist when I suddenly remembered how the hooligans and other rouges killed some people and destroyed the other small pack. Wait for my revenge. I will seek you no matter how dark is your Dean. Severus's POV. Row. The gritting of the warrior's teeth heard along the battlefield. I was now in the highest hill scanning the area that the hooligans destroyed. The building that stood highly before was now facing the ground. Their pavements were scattered around and some were turned into dust that the wind blew around. Few innocent werewolves were killed and many of them were rescued by my armies. But it was still hard for us to save number of lives because the hooligans were really fast and strong. I felt that the mastermind on this chaos planned all of this very well. While I was scanning the area, I heard heavy breath coming closer to me. I looked back and I saw one of my men coming. Huff. Huff. Prince. We need your help. One of my army came rushing. He was breathing heavily as he called me. He was bathed with blood and there was bruises and deep wounds around his chest. And it was the bad sign since the armies that I sent to the battle was really good in fighting. What happened? Where is your leader in command? I asked him wondering while I'm looking at him directly. Huff. Pardon but the hooligans are trained and they have a very high skilled in fighting. He replied panting in breath. I clenched my hand into fist as I heard that. I thought that my father was right, the hooligans were now prepared for fighting. Don't worry. We can defeat them. I fearless shouted and I ready myself to the fight. Go to their safest place and gather the weak werewolves and tell to the other who are willing to serve the pack to fight no matter what. I ordered my army and he quickly nodded his head as agreement. He quickly ran away and took the war field. When I saw him vanished in my sight, I went to the field and faced the hooligans. And like what I expected about the hooligans, they were big in size and also have a unique characteristic each. What the hell? I shouted as I approaching the large hooligans. I immediately transformed as my wolf and attacked the hooligan that wanted to kill one of the innocent Western Pack's werewolf. I sharpened my nails and immediately used it to scratch the back of the hooligan. Die! I growled as I jumped on his back. He was tall but I thought that my strength was enough to kill this fucker. Spurt. The bounty blood spurted from his body when I hit the vital point. I created a deep wound and it caused to his immediate death. Thud. But before the hooligan fell on the ground, another fucker attacked me. Fortunately, I immediately sensed the intruder. I looked back and clenched my hand into fist to hit the body of this hooligans. He was less bigger than before so it was easy to me to defeat this one. Grow. I gritted my teeth in anger when I scanned the area. The hooligans were slowly surrounded me while the other were still doing their part as a warrior. I ready myself since I felt that they were going to attack me as a group. What lucky day to kill the future king. Waha. Men. Are you sure you can defeat us? You weakling. Their voices echoed inside me. I felt anger and I wanted to smash them hardly. But when I looked around, 10 of them were now surrounding me. Don't worry, Commander Alcaran. As his brother I do always doing my part to give him a responsibility. Elixir uttered while bowing his head as a respect. Sigh. Elixir, I know you are good enough to do that. But for now, you need find him so we can have a meeting about the mission. Alcaran uttered and Elixir nodded his head. He opened his palm and one ghost rat appeared on it. He moved closer to his palm and he whispered in the ears of the ghost rat. Go and find him. Elixir muttered with authority. After commanding the ghost rats, it climbed down his arm toward his feet and immediately smelled his way toward the target. Squeak. The ghost rat immediately ran away and it entered the hole in the wall. Don't worry, Commander Alcaran. I already sent my army to find him. Elixir uttered and he bowed again his head. Alcaran turned around and walked away. When his appearance was slowly fading in the dark, a loud sound was suddenly heard in the darkest part of the room that made the two see where the sound coming from. Blag. They silently stood while waiting for the one who came. And after a moment of pause, an image of a man appeared in the dark. He was wearing an all-black outfit while sitting on the open window. His image was seen as the curtain fluttered every time the wind blew together with the skirt of his cloak. His right knee was bended on the top of the window while his right hand was on its top. And his shadow created a horrible image in the floor. Elixir, I told you. The low tone of his voice was heard and he showed the dead ghost rat in his hand. He made it to float in the air and blag. The unknown man threw the dead ghost rat on the floor. After that, he jumped out of the window hole following the movement of the falling rat. He stepped on it and made a loud sound. The ghost rat turned into ashes and his face was shown as he glared at Elixir. Severus' handsome face was revealed. His eyes were glowing in their red as blood color as he stared at Elixir, who finally standing. Are you trying to provoke me, dear brother? Severus uttered with his low voice while slowly walking toward him. Severus. Enough, Alcaran shouted, which made Severus to halt his steps with his straight face. Where did you go? He added, which made Severus blow air from his mouth. Phew. I having fun outside, Commander. Severus uttered as he gave smirked at Elixir. Alcaran shook his head toward the response of Severus and he spoke with authority. Elixir, Severus. Set aside first your argument because we have a very important thing to do. The Lord wanted to make the order clear. I commanded both of you to lead the mission, Alcaran uttered, and before he ended up his words, he turned around to face Severus, who standing behind him. Severus's POV. Row. The gritting of the warrior's teeth heard along the battlefield. I was now in the highest hill scanning the area that the hooligans destroyed. The building that stood highly before was now facing the ground. Their pavements were scattered around and some were turned into dust that the wind blew everywhere it goes. Few innocent werewolves were killed and many of them were rescued by my armies. But it was still hard for us to save number of lives because the hooligans were really fast and strong. I felt that the mastermind on this chaos planned all of this very well. Because for almost a eye after I went here, the number of hooligans seemed like did not decreasing. They were also strong and seemed like enjoying the bloody battle. While I was scanning the area, I heard heavy breath coming closer to me. I looked back and I saw one of my men coming. Huff. Huff. Prince. We need your help. One of my army came rushing. He was breathing heavily as he called me. He was bathed with blood and there was a bruises and deep wounds around his chest. And it was the bad sign since the armies that I sent to the battle was really good in fighting. I felt agitation since I saw one of my best fighter on that situation. What happened? Where is your leader in command? I asked him wondering while I'm looking at him directly. Huff. Pardon, but the hooligans are trained and they have a very high skilled in fighting. And our commander told me to find you, so seek help from the pack. He replied, panting in breath. I clenched my hand into fist as I heard that. I thought that my father was right, the hooligans were now prepared for fighting. Don't worry, I will send here another troop. We can defeat them. I fearless shouted and I ready myself to the fight. Go to their safest place and gather the weak werewolves and tell to the other who are willing to serve the pack to fight no matter what. I ordered my army and he quickly nodded his head as agreement. He quickly ran away and took the war field. When I saw him vanished in my sight, I went to the field and faced the hooligans. And like what I expected about the hooligans, they were big in size and also have a unique characteristic each. What the hell? I shouted as I approaching the large hooligans. I immediately transformed as my wolf and attacked the hooligan that wanted to kill one of the innocent Western Pack's werewolf. I sharpened my nails and immediately used it to scratch the back of the hooligan. Die! I growled as I jumped on his back. He was tall but I thought that my strength was enough to kill this fucker. Spurt. The bounty blood spurted from his body when I hit the vital point. I created a deep wound and it caused to his immediate death. Thud. But before the hooligan fell on the ground, another fucker attacked me. Fortunately, I immediately sensed the intruder. I looked back and clenched my hand into fist to hit the body of this hooligans. He was less bigger than before, so it was easy to me to defeat this one. Grow. I gritted my teeth in anger when I scanned the area. The hooligans were slowly surrounded me while the other were still doing their part as a warrior. I ready myself since I felt that they were going to attack me as a group. What lucky day to kill the future king. Waha. One of the hooligans laughed and he showed me how sharp was his fangs. Man. Are you sure you can defeat us? You weakling. Another hooligan in my back mocked me. I could not stand this anymore, but I stayed calm since I wanted not let my guard down. Their voices echoed inside my ears. I felt anger at this moment and I wanted to smash them hardly. But when I looked around, 10 of them were now surrounding me. What the fuck? I muttered as I saw them grinning at me. I really mad at this moment. I sharpened my ears to sense my surrounding to know every movement of the enemies. How brave the future king. Wahaha. The future king of hell. Boo wahaha. They could not restrain not to laugh harder. And every time they mocking me, I showed them my fangs. I scratched my foot to the ground to create holes. Grrrwwww. My sounding roar echoed around and they were looked at each other. They were give themselves a high five before they turned into a werewolf. Row. Their sounds invaded the location we were when they transformed into their wolf. And I could not deny that they were all massive in height. Their teeth and fangs were all sharp and pointed that could tear apart the flesh of their victims. They slowly walked closer to me while their sticky saliva dripped down their mouth. I glared at them and I jumped high toward the massive gray hooligans with all my force. I tightened my nails and it quickly pierced on his back. I bit his neck and smashed him toward the ground. The hooligans that left were halted their steps. I smell the eagerness of killing me from their aura. The hooligans that I attacked was now hovering between life and death. The blood poured and his breath was slowly fading. I immediately looked toward the 9 hooligans. Suddenly, I felt pain on my back and I was surprised as I saw a young hooligan's used to scratch mine. His eyes were all furious as he glared at me. I did not waste my time and I quickly attacked him. I did not give him another chance to scratch me again. But before I get closer, a huge one appeared and it blocked my way toward the young hooligan. The intruder hit to the ground. I quickly buried to the ground and I saw him jumping toward me, third person's POV. The bloody battle between the Western Pack and the hooligans was started. All of them were fighting for their life and territory. And at that moment, Severus was now surrounded by the hooligans. Thud. Severus rolled toward the ground. He was literally buried through it as he was hit by the massive dark werewolf. His eyes were still in his madness every time he thought about the lives that were gone for the battle. He started to grit his teeth in his wildest, showing no mercy to these hooligans if the battle was begun. He did not move for a while but his eyes glowed like a fireball at night. He restoring the strength that escaped recently. Huff. Huff. Severus breathed heavily as he found himself on the ground. He wanted to stand himself as he felt that his wounds were healed. But he still felt the pain in it. But to his surprise, before he stood from the hole, the huge dark hooligans jumped in his front. He knew that the dark wolf would be targeting his chest so he readied himself to block it. Severus used his reflexes so he could dodge the attack. He rolled his body and immediately stood to counterattack the upcoming hooligan. He gritted his teeth and he readied himself again. But like what he expected, the hooligans around him trapped him to be cornered by their leader. However, even the hooligans surrounded him. He could feel any threat of danger to them. He felt that there was something that would happen. He saw the hooligans stand calmly, their saliva was still flowing down their fangs, seems like they were eager to fight with him. Suddenly, the big dark wolf walked and the hooligans around bowed their heads. Severus knew that it was the leader and he smirked secretly. At this point, Severus thought that fighting with the leader was an opportunity to know the mastermind of all of the chaos that killed the innocent packs. Because he told to his father to come here to investigate and catch the leader. And he was really tossing the cookies as he knew the leader's identity as he hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Although he was now facing the danger as he was now surrounded by massive hooligans. The leader gritted his teeth and his growl echoed. All of the hooligans who fight the armies show no mercy even though their life as bait. And while the battle was still going through the field, Severus faced the leader. He gritted his teeth in anger as he jumped again in the air. He quickly jumped and tried to target the chest. The leader tumbled on the dry dirty ground as Severus hit him. Even though the leader was massive, Severus made his attack very well. But even he did that, he knew to himself how hard to defeat this one. The leader started to get mad. He growled and ran faster toward Severus. His movement was fast like lightning and Severus felt that there was something wrong with his muscle. He smelled the liquid formula and it was a drug. He could be betrayed by his senses. He knew that the drugs that flowed through their veins were only found in the Desdemonian pack. The Kshatriya drug. Shit. What the hell are they trying to do? He muttered as he thought about the drugs. He was really surprised as he smelled the drugs that his father taught him years ago. But based on their research, This drug vanished a long time ago with the Desdemonian pack. So how could this hooligans leader have this? Do they know the reason behind the sudden vanish of the pack, or they were the werewolf of that pack? Suddenly, his thoughts were distracted by the growls of the hooligans around him. At that said, the hooligans were started to get ready for an attack. They jumped towards Severus one by one, which created a deep wound on his back. Severus was shivering in pain. Fortunately, he trained himself to heal faster than others could do. While healing himself faster, he observed the movie of the enemies. He knew that they were not actually good at fighting, but they have a drug that prevented them to feel pain and reduced the fear to fight. How could this fucker tricks me? He muttered as he knew how the hooligans used drugs for their enhancement. His eyes were burning in anger as he tried to slam the heads of those hooligans on the ground. But the leader bit his neck. Fortunately, he quickly dodged it, so it created a small tear on his skin. Arg! He growled as he felt the warm blood spurt on his neck. He gritted his teeth in pain, but the hooligans were still attacking him. Severus was now stunned by the strength of the hooligans. He looked around, but he couldn't find any help since everyone have their own battle. Only he could help himself for this moment. He knew that he would be trash against the numbers of hooligans, and he might kill if he didn't fight back until the end. Because even he called for help recently, he thought that they would find him dead on the spot if he would ignore the strength of these hooligans. Huff. Huff. I need to get out of here as soon as possible, he muttered as he steps backward. And every step he made, the hooligans walked toward him also. They were all showing their teeth, and the leader was in the middle of them. He wanted to smash them around, but he was now helpless. But he was still glaring at the leader because it was his target. He tried to know every single detail of his appearance, since he would answer the questions that he wanted to know. Thud. Suddenly, one of the hooligans from afar rumbled on the ground. It was rolled and buried like a meteor. It created a crack on the ground. The hooligan was now in their front, which made him feel surprised. Severus's POV. Thud. I was surprised as I saw one of the hooligans fly, and it fell in the middle of us. The leader and his comrades were also surprised as they saw how the werewolf was buried on the ground because of the strong force that took him toward us. At this moment, I felt I have a chance to escape, since their attention was caught by the direction where the hooligan came from. But from the moment that I was about to run away, I was also surprised as I heard someone calling me by mind link. Are you going to leave without thanking me? A voice of a woman. No, it was not just a voice of a woman I knew, but it was Hirre's voice. I halted my steps as I heard him. I did not know what would I react at this moment. Either anger or happily. Anger because she was here in the battle and trying to put her life at risk, or happiness since she saved me and it would be the best way to catch up with the leader. Shit. Where are you? Why are you here? Are you out of your mind? It's too dangerous here, I said indignantly as I could not find her around, although I sensed her intoxicating smell. I did not know how stubborn she was because she was here in the battle. Actually, this pack was too far, so it was hard for her to find it except if my father told her. But for sure, my father won't tell her this place because he wanted Hirre's safety. Here. I told you to go back to your pack now, I added when she didn't answer me. But my anger was faded as I saw hooligans were now ready to attack me again. Shit. I only said when Hirre cut off our mind link. It really made me worry. I gritted my teeth again, and now I faced the hooligans without any fear but anger. I wanted to put my anger toward this fucker hooligans. However, before I attacked, other hooligans dropped from nowhere. My heart beats fast when I saw how bloody was the hooligans. It was lifeless and there was a deep wound that almost tore apart from its skin. The hooligans who was attacked me recently gritted their teeth. I thought that they would attack me, but I was wrong. They all ran away to look for the werewolf who killed their comrade like a mere rat. Only the leader was left, and it was a great opportunity for me to catch this one alive. However, from a distance, I saw an image that standing on a small hill-like land area. And I would never felt wrong. This one was here and the hooligans were approaching toward her. I wanted to run to save her, but the leader blocked my way. I was worried for Hirre's safety since I knew how these hooligans use drugs to enhance their strength. Grr. The leader jumped over me when my attention was caught by Hirre. I dodged the attack, but there was a slight open wound that now made me feel pain. I needed to finish this battle to save my stubborn Luna, so I jumped behind and landed on the back of the leader. I wanted to kill this one, but it was the only way to know where was the Desdemonian pack, so I just bit its neck to leave a deep wound. However, the leader jumped and it made me fall to the ground. He jumped toward me and bit my legs. I could not stand anymore since he was larger than me. My legs and my arms hurt, but I needed to stay strong for Hirre. I didn't want to see her flesh tearing apart by those fucking hooligans. And because the leader was on top of me, I thought that its neck was closer. I immediately moved my head and all forced, I grabbed his neck and bit it as long as I could take. I felt his blood pour toward me, but I did not stop biting him. And when I saw him in his bad situation, I immediately went to the top and transformed into my human body. I grabbed his head and quickly twisted it until his bone cracked. I saw the leader lying on the dirty ground. He was now lifeless because of what I did. However, even though I successfully killed him, I didn't feel any happiness because the enemy that I hoped to be my key was now dead. But it doesn't matter, for now, I needed to save my stubborn Luna. I quickly transformed again to help Hirre. I saw Hirre fighting the 3 werewolves by herself since the others were killed and some were now in the hand of my armies. I saw from her eyes the mixed emotions that made me puzzled. I knew that it was her first time fighting, so that emotion was normal for an amateur like her. I jumped toward the hooligans that trying to bite her and threw it away. It hit the tree that caused his bones to break apart because of my strength forced. I saw Hirre biting another, and from her fighting skill, I really admired her even though it was not bad for me. I helped her to kill the others. I didn't talk to her first while we were in the battle. And after a few hours, some of the hooligans sensed that their leader was gone, so they were run to escape. But more of them were killed. But unfortunately, no one was caught alive. Some of them were still chasing, and I hoped that there was someone who brought even one of them alive. I felt my body was giving up because of tiredness and anger. I faced Hirre and I saw from her face the tiredness after the fight. I felt pity for her, but I have something to tell her before I took care of her. I wanted to question her why she was here. However, before I spoke to her, she suddenly fell to the ground. I was surprised and worried about her, so I immediately carried her away from the battlefield. Third person's POV. Severus was really mad at Hirre when he knew that Hirre stubbornly followed his armies on their way to the Western Pack. At that moment, Hirre could not understand why she suddenly felt strange toward herself after her fight against the hooligans. Her vision suddenly turned blurry and the surrounding looked like rotating. She slapped her forehead but her face seemed numb. After a while, she could not hear anything around her and even Severus's appearance became empty in her eyes. And she lost her balance to stand and the only thing she knew after was Severus caught her before she fell on the ground. "Hurry!" Severus's voice echoed around the area as he saw Hirre suddenly fall. He immediately caught Hirre's body and brought her to the nearest pack hospital. Severus's POV. "Is she okay?" I could not help myself not to ask the doctor of the Western Pack. Even though there were lots of patients inside the ward, I wanted to make sure that they would assess Hirre first. "Let's wait for a minute prince because she was under observation. But I'm sure that she was now stable," the doctor replied, and I felt relief as I heard that. Because if Hirre would be in danger, I would not forgive myself anymore. Tap. 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 I looked back when I heard someone's footsteps. I saw Gamma Elias. He have lots of bruises and wearing rag clothes. "Elias, I think that you told Hirre where is my location, right?" I tried to calm myself as I talked with my Gamma. "Nah. I do not," he immediately replied to me. So why she was here and now her life is in danger? I glared at him seriously and I felt he knew I was going to get mad. "Prince, I don't ever tell her our location even if she begged for it. The only thing I know was she might follow us toward here," he sincerely explained to me. I felt he was telling the truth but all I wanted was to know how Hirre reached this pack even though the cars were secured. "Elias. Why you didn't make sure that no one followed you toward here?" I growled again. It was not my first time scolding him but I knew he was still timid after hearing me shouting. "Pardon. But I really don't know how she gets in the car. But according to my investigation, she disguised as one of the fighters so I didn't know that she was with us," he explained and I shook my head not because of his carelessness but toward Hirre's stubbornness. I didn't reply to Elias. I just sat on the bench to wait for the result. Prince, I have a piece of bad news," he suddenly spoke which made me look back at him. He looked pale and there was a line of negative thoughts in his eyes. "What's that?" I asked even though I have bad feelings about the tone of his voice. "We didn't get information to tell. Because we found a small capsule that linked on their body and it automatically burst if they were going to talk about the Chantria drug," Elias said and I was stunned. I did not know how could those hooligans improved not only their strength but also their security. "Did you capture one of them?" I asked him seriously. "Yes, we do. But the three of them killed themselves before we handcuffed them. And the rest used the capsule to break their brains to shut off their lives as soon as possible. I think they are doing that for the safety of their hidden pack." "So you mean that even I tried to capture their leader is useless since he swear loyalty to their pack?" I asked again when I remembered about the leader that I killed. "Sorry to say Severus but the hooligan that you killed is not the real leader. He is just ordered to disguise himself as a leader to know the weakness and strength of their enemy. And I'm sure that the reason behind their immediate escape was not because of that jerk but to make us believe that the real leader was already killed." "I think you are right. They were just playing tricks with us. And I know that they will never show their leader that easy to kill," I replied as I made up the thought about the hooligans. "But we have a major problem," Elias added and I knitted my eyebrows. Hirre is now in danger since she used to kill more than 5 hooligans by herself. I felt that they all gathered their troop to catch Hirre alive. We need to protect her, especially since she was now the top target of the hooligans. Elias added, and I was shocked at what I heard. Might Hirre was strong, but for her skills in fighting, she needed to train more. But how, if Hirre was in the bed of unknown ill? We need to add more security for her. But for now, inform the outside pack about the damage that the hooligans created. I ordered Elias and he quickly followed me. Elias walked away and I was left outside the ward. Prince, I have the result. I looked back and I saw the doctor of the Western Pack. He was carrying the documents and I stood immediately to get the results. And when I read the content, I widened my eyes as I knew the result. Mr. Felix, is this true? All I have to do was to ask the doctor, who nodded his head. I immediately dragged myself down to the bench again as I took a deep breath. Hirre is now experiencing the hibernation of her wolf since she was forced to use all of her strength to fight the hooligans. I was worried when I heard that. Because it took months or years before she would be okay. So does it mean she is now in her deep sleep? I asked him, but he tapped my broad shoulder as he took another sheet of paper. Actually, it is a rare condition to meet a woman like her. Because based on my investigation, Hirre will spend 3 days before she recovered her wolf. So it's mean, 2 days from now, she will be awake. Mr. Felix said, and I was really stunned. How does it happen? I asked, even though there were mixed emotions that I felt right now. Her blood is activated and it creates a good combination of her blood and wolf. So it means that her werewolf blood and witch blood work together. That's why she experiences a short time hibernation. The doctor said, and I felt happy since I heard that Hirre would be okay. Mr. Felix, is she would fine even with her blood mixed? I asked because it was my first time hearing a case like Hirre. Sorry. But only I can show you the data of her blood. But if wanted to ask about that case, only Mr. Lionheart can only tell that because he was a witch doctor. I nodded my head after hearing the news. Thank you, Mr. Felix. The important is Hirre is in the good estate, I replied before the doctor leave me. After a moment of pause, I quickly went to her ward to know her situation. But how surprised I felt when I entered the ward. Severus, here's POV. Elias, please. I begged Gamma Elias to tell me where was Severus. I felt uneasy about the things he told me recently. I wanted to go with them because I heard that they would be going to the Western Pack where the battle against hooligans took place. No. You will stay here. He seriously replied to me. I felt annoyed as he could not tell me the exact location. Because according to the hearsay, the Western Pack was too far from the civilization, but it really had a nice culture and a wealthy one, despite of their numbers. So it's not impossible that the hooligans target this pack for their own sake. And after a while, Elias walked away when the armies passed by. Prepare immediately, Elias shouted before he leaves the room. I looked around and I saw many armies carrying their baggage. I knew it contains their battle suit. I narrowed my eyes as I planned to make a move. No one would stop if I want. I ensured that Elias was gone before I entered the massive room. I locked the door and took one of the baggage. I immediately opened it to wear the suit. It was a black shirt and jogger pants. I didn't waste another time and quickly wore them. I also wore a mask and cup so no one would know me. It was not hard to do this because there were lots of newbies armies. Get ready. The hunter leader came and every one of us quickly moved toward the battle cars. I just followed them so no one would see me. My heart beats fast. Fortunately, Elias and Leo were in the other car. I felt relief, but there was something inside me that made me feel uneasy. And it was Severus's safety. I knew that he was strong, but the hooligans that attacked the pack were stronger. Almost 2 hours that we traveled after we reached the battlefield. And right after I stepped on the ground, I smelled the blood of my Severus. I sensed that he was now in danger. I didn't waste my time to hear out the command of the leader and I quickly ran toward the field. And from the distance, I saw how horrible the place was. There was a fire scattered and dusty air. The dead bodies of Western Pack's werewolves lay on the ground. The scenes were bloody and anyone who could see this picture would be in horror. I felt pity for the Western Pack. The rich and peaceful lives of this pack were now turned into this. But my sadness turned into anger when I saw Severus surrounded by the hooligans. I smell something that flowed in the veins of those fuckers. Whoosh! But before I ran to lead my hand to Severus, I heard the air rushing toward me. What a strange feeling I have this moment because my senses become sharper than before. I quickly moved to dodge the intruder. And even though I'm not using my wolf, I strongly slammed him to the ground. And I was not contented when I saw the hooligans stepping closer to Severus. Shit! I muttered and I quickly ran toward the hooligan I hit recently. And before he stood, I used my right foot to kick him away. He looked like a football ball when he flew in the air. Whoosh! And how ridiculous to think because the hooligan was perfectly hit the ground between Severus and his enemies. I also looked for another enemy to receive my enhanced strength. And when I looked back, a mad werewolf showed his fangs at me. I grinned and jumped toward his back and transformed into my wolf. I created a deep wound that was caused by his early death. And before I leave him alone, I hit him so he would catch the attention of his fucker comrades. I felt stronger and my body seemed weightless every time I jumped high in the air. I felt strange, but I would find it later. Because the important for me right now was how to fight the 10 hooligans that now approaching. And even the air was dusty, I could see Severus facing the massive werewolf. I felt it was stronger than these upcoming shit. My hands were itchy to fight, but how annoying when the armies came to fight. Only 3 left and I thought it was enough for me. Whoosh! Slash! Thud! The sounds of the battle echoed inside my ear. I loved the lullaby of this scenario around me. There was a feeling inside me that wanted to explode. I felt the tightness of my flesh, even the warmth of my blood. And I was surprised when I killed the enemy with my own hand. And after a moment of pause, I saw Severus standing in my front. I heard the anger that he felt toward me. I knew it was because of my stubbornness. I wanted to see his reaction about my fighting skills, but before I spoke, I felt my vision turn blur. All of the pieces of stuff around rotating, even my hands were shaking uncontrollably. Here? Only his voice entered my ear and I decided to let my body win against me. I slowly fell on the ground and Severus helped me before I bumped my head. Hirre is now experiencing the hibernation of her wolf since she was forced to use all of her strength to fight the hooligans. I heard a mixed voice outside the room. And I was surprised as I heard my name. What the hell are they talking about? Hibernation? How ridiculous. I could not help myself but to wonder. Because how did I hibernate if I was awake? And because of those things, I didn't even recognize that I'm asking myself when I heard that I was undergoing hibernation. I sat on the bed and looked around me. There were many pieces of equipment around. I saw a lot of needles inserting my skin. I hate this kind of stuff, so I pulled them away and jumped on the bed. I felt that I was still in the Western Pack because of the whine and growls that I heard around the Pack's hospital. I felt my body was still weightless, seemed like I was in outer space. I suddenly heard a familiar footsteps coming. I knitted my eyebrows. I knew it was Severus's footsteps. "What the?" I shouted in surprise. I never thought that I would feel this thing much better. Why do I feel strange? Is this a dream? Third-person POV. Stomp. The footsteps penetrate inside her ears. She could sense the person outside the door, although Severus's smell was so familiar to her. The cold breeze touched her gentle skin and it caused goosebumps around her body. "Severus?" she said to herself, even though the door was still closed. But after a while, the door opened and it exposed Severus's perfect face. Even though he was burdened by the war last night, he was still handsome in his ragged clothes. "Here." But before Severus stepped into the room, he widened his eyes, wondering for something. He could not even recognize that he was halted his steps as he asked about Hirre's situation. "Why do you look pale?" Hirre, who was still sitting on the bed, asked the other party. But before Severus uttered a word, he ran toward Hirre to touch her face. Severus' eyes were filled with questions. He was really put in surprise as he saw Hirre sitting in the bed. He touched Hirre before he spoke. "Hirre, are you feeling well?" "Yeah. What's happened?" Hirre asked as she saw how Severus cared about her. But she didn't even realize what happening around her. She was puzzled and even her eyes were asking. "Do you remember the battle 2 days ago?" he asked while he caressed Hirre's forehead to her temple. Hirre was put in surprise as she heard that almost 2 days passed after the battle. "What? 2 days?" She widened her eyes as she heard what happened. Because the only thing she knew before she lost consciousness was she felt dizzy and nothing more. "Yes. And I'm so worried about you. Can you please tell me what happened to you?" Severus took all his courage to ask Hirre. Hirre turned taciturn. She could not speak, as if an invisible glue applied to her lips. She recalled the reminiscence of the past 2 days. Suddenly, she looked at Severus. She could not come to her senses what happening out of the blue. Why she stayed for almost a day in the Pack hospital. I felt strange in my body," she replied, trembling in her voice. "Maybe it's because you experience hibernation. Your wolf sleeps to gain your witch blood," Severus added, and there was no trace of being surprised in his voice. Hirre widened her eyes. "So I'm not dreaming? I can hear their voices talking about hibernation recently," she muttered herself in silence. At that moment, Severus kept his eyes on Hirre. "Are you okay?" Severus asked as he knitted his eyebrows. Hirre nodded her head in agreement. "Yeah, I'm okay. But I can't think about the hibernation you said recently. Is that true? But why it is so easy?" Hirre asked again, wondering. "Because your blood mixed together. It is not totally called as hibernation. You just took time to rest your body from the battle. And it has become a way to force your werewolf blood to connect with your witch blood," Severus explained, and Hirre was stunned as she heard. "That's why I'm feeling strange. I need to go back to my pack. I need to talk to Mr. Lionheart as soon as possible. Hirre stood as she decided to go back to the Tyranny Pack. Severus grabbed her arm and said, "Not for now. You are not still okay. You need to recover the strength that you lost." Hirre took off Severus' hand out to her. Severus cast his fierce glance. He didn't want to let Hirre go without proper recovery. Her situation was not just a simple one. "I'm now okay," Hirre retorted, which made Severus sweep his hair a moment after exasperation. Hirre's eyes dimmed. She realized that Severus was not easy to get mad. She bit her lips and halted her movement. She didn't want the argument. "Stay here. Tomorrow I'll send you back," Severus seriously urged, and Hirre could not move but to please whatever Severus say. She sat again on the bed. She let Severus avert his gaze away from her as she felt discomfort. But before she went back to bed, Severus slowly followed her and kissed her torridly. Hirre felt the warmth of Severus's tongue scour her mouth. She was stiff as she felt the warm hand of Severus holding her neck. Their saliva mixed together and the cold breeze became warm as they started to lay on the bed. Sev. And not here. Hirre stuttered as she pushed Severus slightly away from her. "Remember, you make me worried. This is your punishment, you stubborn lady," Severus seriously said in his manly voice. And he continued, "What he doing?" Hirre felt the blushing of her face that traveled all the way to the tip of her ears. She let Severus to devour her once again. Hirre felt the playful tongue of Severus down to her neck. His long fingers ran toward her back and caressed it gently. They were at the peak of pleasure when Hirre suddenly felt something. She pushed Severus again as she spoke. "Wait. Someone's coming." Severus, who was surprised at what Hirre did, knit his eyebrows. He stared at Hirre, narrowing his eyes in suspicion. He thought that Hirre was tricking him to stop what they doing. But Hirre's eyes tell the truth more than her tongue. And not less than 3 minutes, the door opened and it showed Elias and Leo. Fortunately, Severus was now sitting on the bed next to Hirre, who finally laying down. Severus, the hooligans' onslaught was now sent to the major packs. They said that they will guarantee their help for the recovery of the Western Pack. Elias said, bowing his head to the floor before he looked at the prince. "Okay. We will go back to the back after Hirre's recovery. Anyway, please get the specimen of the dead hooligans. I will check it to our pack," Severus replied, and the other party nodded their head before they went out. When the two were gone, Hirre sat and spoke to the prince. "Severus, sorry, I ruined your plan to capture the leader." Severus smiled briefly and he looked back at Hirre. "You don't have to say it because there is not the leader. They just tricked us to know the skills of our hunters." Hirre was shocked by what she heard. "So does it mean that there are people behind that onslaught that much greater than those fuckers?" Hirre could not stop herself not to curse. "Yeah. And it is all I wanted to know." Severus stemmed his eyes as he clenched his hand into a fist. Hirre took a deep breath as she tapped Severus's shoulder. "I'm willing to help." Hirre gathered all her strength to speak. Severus shrugged his eyebrows in disagreement. "Here's POV. In the Tyranny Pack Tilda. Oh my. Are you sure that you are still okay? My grandpa embraced me as he saw me coming to our pack. I knew that he was worried about me since he found out that I went to the Western Pack to help Severus." "Don't worry, Grandpa. I'm okay," I replied as I caressed his back. I felt what he felt right now, the happiness of seeing me safe. I smiled at him as we departed from each other, and I was a little relieved since the witch doctor would be coming. I have lots of questions for him later and I could not wait to hear the answer to that. Here, take a rest. While Lionheart was still arriving, Grandpa did as he took me to the couch. Grandpa. Don't treat me like a baby. I can handle myself, you don't have to worry again. I faced him to inform him. Okay. Okay. But make sure that you will take care of yourself again, he added as he gave me a sweet smile. I smiled back at him and nodded my head slightly. I wished that I met him before so I would never felt hardship before. But while I'm talk with him, I suddenly remembered about the hibernation that I heard from Severus. Grandpa, can we talk privately? I held his right arm as I asked him. He nodded his head and he mind-linked his securities who quickly walked away. Now, tell me what you want, he added as he looked at me seriously. Grandpa, about hibernation, I said directly to the point. My grandfather narrowed his eyes. He seemed like weighing the things I wanted to know. Why you suddenly asked me about that? He asked me. I need info about that, Grandpa. I stuttered as I spoke. He flinched his shoulder and he took a deep breath before he replied at me. According to my own experience, hibernation is only happening if we experience the weakness within ourselves. Our wolf needed a long time to rest if it encountered battle. And our wolf needs to sleep for a year. And if we did not take hibernation, our wolf will be dead or gone. My grandfather explained and I was stunned as I heard that. But, I do experience hibernation in almost 2 days. So does it mean, my wolf is getting weak? I felt worried as I replied, but I saw a puzzlement in the eyes of my grandpa. It's impossible. It's impossible to hibernate in just a few days. I think we really need Mr. Lionheart for that. Only those words escaped her mouth. I think Mr. Lionheart is coming, I muttered, and my grandfather was stunned by what I said. I knew he would not believe me until. Knock. Knock. Come in, Grandpa shouted, and one of his securities came. The man in his black suit stood and bowed his head. Mr. Vermont, Mr. Lionheart is here in the outside. Do I let him get in? The man said, and Mr. Vermont nodded his head. After a while, the witch doctor came, escorted by the other security. And after bringing the doctor, they slammed the door. Mr. Vermont, nice to meet you again, the witch doctor said, and I was still keeping my eyes on him. Please take a seat. Grandpa smiled and offered him a chair, which was immediately followed by the doctor. What I can do for you, Mr. Vermont? You can ask me if you please. The witch doctor said, wearing his smile as he talked with my grandfather. Actually, it's all about Hirre. She is the one who needs your service today. My grandpa said directly to the point. Do woo the Yui right, even I was just watching soldiers. Mr. Lionheart looked at me, waiting for my questions. I didn't waste much time and I quickly jumped on my intent. Mr. Lionheart, the doctor of the Western Pack told me that my blood mixed together after 2 days of hibernation. But I really don't know how it comes. I asked him, wondering. I saw something in his eyes. The movement of his pupils showed uneasiness that did not escape from me. I knew he have something to tell me. Mrs. Monreal, honestly, I didn't hear anything that's similar to your situation. Because hibernation normally took years before the wolf comes back. And I think, Your blood as a witch has a great contribution to why your hibernation becomes easy. Maybe you experience a deep slumber to gain the true power of the two clans. You are great here. I found myself widening my eyes as I heard the witch doctor's explanation. It was the opposite on what was the advantage of having two blood. Yes, Severus told me about the slumber, but I still have mixed emotions about this process as I heard the witch doctor telling me that I experience unique hibernation. How it comes? I stuttered as I asked him. There was a hint of being surprised and fear that invaded me at this moment. Because your age is suitable to reach the stage of being a witch. The day will come and you will gain much power if you learn how to use the two gifts that only you have, he replied, and I remembered the time that I fought the group of hooligans despite their strong sense of power and strength. Does it mean I can do both of the power of the two clans since I have them inside me? I asked him again. Yes. And you can be powerful more than anyone if you learn how to put them together in your body. Because the witch blood and werewolf blood are not easy. You need more time to learn how to use them. I looked at my grandpa as I heard the doctor's explanation. He looked at me meaningfully. I knew from every corner of his eyes the willingness to talk to me. Grandpa, I think I made up my mind. I didn't wait for him to talk, and I am the one who told him what he wanted for me. Are you willing to train yourself? He asked me, and I smiled at him while nodding my head twice. He moved his body closer to me and gave me his warm touch on my arm. I know you can do it. You can learn the gift that your parents left to you, he said, and I hugged him tightly. He caressed my back and felt the beating of his heart telling me how proud he was of me. When we departed from each other, the doctor suddenly spoke, which caught our attention. But you need to be careful. If you fail to learn how to use those power, it will lead to your destruction. I was afraid of what Mr. Lionheart said. I never thought that I could put myself in danger if I didn't put myself seriously in the training. So what should we do? My grandpa asked him. I felt the fear from every word he spoke. Hirre needs to go to train hard in the Caspian Pack. They highly recommend trainers that give you more than you expected. Months are enough for them to teach you, Mr. Lionheart said, and I felt frightened. I swallowed my mouthful of saliva as I felt the dryness of my throat. Okay, Mr. Lionheart. But I can't promise to go there this week since I have something to deal with. But I will do my best to learn it by myself first, I replied, giving myself the confidence to face my fate of mine. I do understand it, Miss Hirre. Anyway, I have something to do. You can call me anyway, Mr. Lionheart said before he stood. Thank you, Lionheart, for this time. I will look forward to your help, Mr. Vermont added before he stood again to guide the witch doctor out of the living room. I was left alone on the couch, thinking about the words that Mr. Lionheart said to me. I felt a little nervous and excited since I have the two power from the two clans. Suddenly, while I'm planning, I heard a buzzing in my ear. I immediately turned on the mind link. Here, can we meet? Severus called me. I felt his sense outside. I turned off the mind link without answering him and ran toward his location, Severus's POV. After the hard battle between my armies and the hooligans, I went back to our pack with Hirre. And even I was mad at her stubbornness, I didn't recall it again after she put in danger after the battle. Knock. Knock. I heard someone knocking at my door twice. My thoughts vanished when a familiar sense distracted me again. I knew he was Gamma Elias who was in the outside. "It's not locked. Come in," I said louder, and the door opened after a while. As what I expected, Elias came and he sat on the chair on right side of my office table. "What's now?" I asked him when I looked at him coldly. I wanted to have a serious talk for this moment since I felt emptiness after Hirre went back to her pack for medications. "As usual, there's no good news," he replied in the low tone of his voice. I flinched my shoulder and I found myself taking a deep breath. Like what I thought, I have a problem again. I clasped my hands under my chin as I waited him to give me another bad news. I knew it since he always coming for me if there was an information to say. "Look at this," he added as he gave me his laptop. I stretched my arm to take it. I closed my eyes for a second as I read what was the information. I decided to call Hirre after reading it and I took my phone quickly. "The number you have dialed is now unattended or out of coverage area." I slammed my phone on the table when Hirre didn't answer my call. I have lots of things to ask her and I felt she ignoring me at this moment. Elias looked at me and I knew he was secretly laughing at me for having a short patience. But I just ignored him because I was really hate the information I got from him. Can I give you some space?" Elias asked me while giving me his forced smile. "Okay," I briefly replied and I sat on my chair with my full strength. I waited a moment before I decided to call her again. Elias exited my office and I picked again my phone to call her. However, like what I expected, she was still not answering me. I felt worried instead of anger. I looked out my window and I saw the sun was still burning in the clear sky. I took my phone back to my pocket and wore my black leather jacket. I have decided to go to her pack to make sure that she was okay. And when I went out to my office, I saw Elias outside. He looked at me wondering since he saw me going somewhere. "Where are you going?" he asked me. "I will go to the Tyranny Pack. Anyway, please tell to my father that I have something to do. I'll come back later," I said before I took my key and immediately walked away from the office. I did not look back and drove my car faster. I hates myself while thinking bad thing toward Hirre. And even anyone could feel these things if their loved one didn't tell their situation. And when I reached the Tyranny Pack, I felt relief as I sensed her wolf. I smiled a bit and immediately called her by mind link. "Hirre, can we meet?" I immediately said, but she was still not answering me. I knitted my eyebrows as our mind linked her without anything to say. I slammed the steering wheel as I felt mad. I knew she was here, but why she didn't call me? I wanted to break my phone in anger, but suddenly, her beauty face appeared on my side mirror. She was standing outside and I saw from her face the appearance that I never expected to see. She looked fine contrary to what I thought while I'm driving. I immediately went off my car to talk to her. "Hirre. Why are you not answering me recently? I thought that you are not fine," I said, hiding the excitement that I felt when I saw her. "Sorry, but I'm busy lately because I have meeting with Mr. Lionheart," she replied, and I felt she have something to tell me. "What's that?" I asked her again, but he pulled my hand and pinned me to my car. "Talk it later. Anyway, what is your intent, why you want to call me?" she seriously said, and I was little surprised on her seriousness. "Okay. Let's go to my office. I have something to show you." I held her right arm and guided her toward my car. I opened the door and I make sure that she was comfortable. After a moment, we drove back to my office. She was silent and I didn't want to bother her peaceful hour. I wanted to let her spoke first, but looked like she thinking deeply because she did not even make a blinked. Her eyes were hollow and I could hear the numbness of her heartbeat. I continued driving until we reached my office, but she was still speechless. "Here, do you have a problem?" I could not stop myself not to ask her. It was really uncomfortable to see her at that situation, so it made my tongue itchy. I saw from my peripheral vision how she took a deep breath. I felt that I was right, she have little one. I parked the car and guided her out of my car. She followed me throughout our way and I felt something wrong toward her. We entered the certain door and took the direction toward my office. Fortunately, no one here so I could have lots of time to speak to her. "Here, can you please tell me what is your problem?" I begged her after we took our seat. She slowly looked at me and I saw on her eyes the strange aura. Her eyes color turned into hazelnut color. And it really made me puzzled. "You are right. I have a problem and I think you can help me for that," Hirre replied, and I was stunned on what she said. I saw the seriousness from the tone of her voice. "Okay. Just tell me and I will do whatever you please," I said, and she wore her smile. I felt higher on what she did, but I give my ears to her to know what she wanted to say. Third-person POV. The deafening silence echoed in the massive office room where not rarely visited by the other personnel except Severus's Beta and Gamma and the King. Hirre and Severus were sitting on both sides of the long oak table. Both of them were thinking about something. After a moment of pause, Severus get bored and he asked Hirre, "You can tell it first." Severus kindly talked toward Hirre and he gave the other party a sweet smile. "You and the doctor at the Western Pack were right, the blood of the two clans was now running together in my body. And they were traveling in each other to give me an incomparable strength," Hirre said in her low tone of voice. Severus widened his eyes as he was stunned by Hirre's story. He shook his head unbelievably as he heard about the interaction of the two blood. He never thought that it would be possible for a werewolf woman like her to possess the witch's blood. He smiled as he admired Hirre's strength. "Great," Severus shouted in happiness, but Hirre did not show any gratitude for the things that she experienced. She felt nothing but emptiness. She knew more than Severus about her situation. Having two blood that ran in the same veins was not simply like what Mr. Lionheart said before. Severus looked at her and his wide grin slowly vanished like a bubble in the air as he saw Hirre's pale face. "What's wrong? Why do you look like a burden to the whole earth? Aren't you happy because you will be powerful?" he asked, not even noticing that his smile was gone. "I don't have any reason to cherish, not even I did not learn how to use them." Hirre seriously spoke as she played with her fingers. "What do you mean?" he asked again while his eyebrows furrowed like a small trench on the valley. "Nothing. I'm just thinking how hard would I take to learn it by myself. Because I'm afraid that my body will collapse again," she coldly replied, which made Severus to surprise. "If that's the reason why you looked so serious, don't worry, I will train you." Severus stood and went closer to Hirre. He sat beside and caressed Hirre's back. "Thank you, but I refuse." She looked seriously at Severus, which made the other party wear a frown. "Why?" Severus asked, wondering since it was the first time that a woman refused his offer. No one did it except Hirre, his future Luna. Focus on your campaign and I will focus on what I need to do. Hirre raised her eyebrows as she spoke. Severus halted what he doing and gave Hirre a suspicious look. Don't ever look at me like that, Severus. I do nothing that can make you angry. We need to put ourselves busy from now on. However, before he suspected Hirre spoke seemed like she read what Severus trying to say. I'm so sorry Hirre, but why do you look so serious, huh? He could not stop himself to ask. Severus felt that there was wrong with Hirre's attitude. She looked more serious and bold in what she said. She was acting differently than before. It's not your business, Severus. Just follow me and I will tell you if I remember. Hirre said, and she stood. Wait. Where are you going? Severus held Hirre's arm as he saw Hirre planning to walk out. Thud. Severus' arm slammed on the table as Hirre took it off her. I will call you later. But for now, we have to do many more important things than this. Hirre coldly looked at Severus, pronouncing the things that even Severus could not know. Severus looked at Hirre with suspicious eyes. But he still let Hirre move freely. And he didn't follow her after. He let Hirre slam the door and left the office without any words to say. Here's POV. I could not understand myself after my blood mixed. Yes, I missed Severus since we did not meet for another 2 days. I stayed in my pack. Severus was a lot of me, but my inside wolf seemed invaded by the witch blood that now running the same as my wolf blood. I missed his firm body. I waited to touch his soft gentle skin and held his hand again, but I could understand what I have been feeling right now. But I didn't have time to worry because he didn't show any anger. Might he understand me? If not, he would argue again with me. Perhaps. My emotions seemed like controlling each other, and every time I wished to be with Severus for a long time, the more my seriousness appeared in his front. But I think it was fine because I really don't want to bother him with my situation. I knew he would worry about me and it would affect his campaign. While I'm driving, I found myself taking a deep breath. I could not stop myself not to think about that, but I have lots of things to do rather than telling him the things that could make him worry. I drove my car away from his office and decided to go to Metablak Pack. I wanted to know the plan that I told Andrasi. I looked straight to my way back home. I would be prepared myself first before going somewhere since I only wore a casual dress. After a while, I reached my home and I didn't park my car in the parking area because I need to hurry. I ran faster upstairs and changed my clothes. I typically wore my jeans and black shirt. Because I didn't want someone to recognize me, especially the haters of the witch. Because even though I helped Andrasi to gain power against the hooligans before, some of her citizens hate witches and I didn't have a right to blame them because I wanted them to have freedom of speech. Andrasi. I will go to your pack right now. I hope that your outline plan is okay. I called her and she immediately answered me politely. Don't worry. Everything is okay. Andrasi replied, and it gave me a brief smile. Even though she was the first time alpha female that I met, she did not disappoint me in everything I wished for. She was a good friend to me since I put my trust in her in terms of human law. Okay. See ya. I ended up in our line and immediately went downstairs. I grabbed my things and carried them behind my back. Where are you going this night? I halted my steps as I heard my uncle not too far from my location, third-person POV. The deafening silence echoed in the massive office room where not rarely visited by the other personnel except Severus's Beta and Gamma and the King. Hirre and Severus were sitting on both sides of the long oak table. Both of them were thinking about something. After a moment of pause, Severus got bored and he asked Hirre. "You can tell it first." Severus kindly talked toward Hirre and he gave the other party a sweet smile. "You and the doctor at the Western Pack were right, the blood of the two clans was now running together in my body. And they were traveling in each other to give me an incomparable strength," Hirre said in her low tone of voice. Severus widened his eyes as he was stunned by Hirre's story. He shook his head unbelievably as he heard about the interaction of the two blood. He never thought that it would be possible for a werewolf woman like her to possess the witch's blood. He smiled as he admired Hirre's strength. "Great," Severus shouted in happiness, but Hirre did not show any gratitude for the things that she experienced. She felt nothing but emptiness. She knew more than Severus about her situation. Having two blood that ran in the same veins was not simply like what Mr. Lionheart said before. Severus looked at her and his wide grin slowly vanished like a bubble in the air as he saw Hirre's pale face. "What's wrong? Why you look like a burden the whole earth? Aren't you happy because you will be powerful?" he asked, not even noticing that his smile was gone. "I don't have any reason to cherish, not even I did not learn how to use them." Hirre seriously spoke as she played with her fingers. "What do you mean?" he asked again while his eyebrows furrowed like a small trench on the valley. "Nothing. I'm just thinking how hard would I take to learn it by myself. Because I'm afraid that my body will collapse again," she coldly replied, which made Severus to surprise. "If that's the reason why you looked so serious, don't worry, I will train you." Severus stood and went closer to Hirre. He sat beside and caressed Hirre's back. "Thank you, but I refuse." She looked seriously at Severus, which made the other party wear a frown. "Why?" Severus asked, wondering, since it was the first time that a woman refused his offer. No one did it except Hirre, his future Luna. "Focus on your campaign and I will focus on what I need to do." Hirre raised her eyebrows as she spoke. Severus halted what he doing and gave Hirre a suspicious look. "Don't ever look at me like that, Severus. I do nothing that can make you angry. We need to put ourselves busy from now on." However, before he suspected Hirre spoke seemed like she read what Severus trying to say. "I'm so sorry, Hirre, but why you look so serious, huh?" He could not stop himself but to ask. Severus felt that there was wrong with Hirre's attitude. She looked more serious and bold on what she said. She was acting differently than before. "It's not your business, Severus. Just follow me and I will tell it you if I remember," Hirre said, and she stood. "Wait. Where are you going?" Severus held Hirre's arm as he saw Hirre planning to walk out. Thud. Severus' arm slammed on the table as Hirre took it off her. "I will call you later. But for now, we have to do much more important things than this." Hirre coldly looked at Severus, pronouncing the things that even Severus could not know. Severus looked at Hirre with suspicious eyes. But he still let Hirre move freely. And he didn't follow her after. He let Hirre slam the door and left the office without any words to say. Hirre's POV. "I could not understand myself after my blood mixed. Yes, I really missed Severus since we did not meet for another 2 days that I stayed in my pack. Severus was a lot of me, but my inside wolf seemed like invaded by the witch blood that now running the same as my wolf blood. I missed his firm body. I waited to touch his soft gentle skin and held his hand again, but I could understand what I have been feeling right now. But I didn't have time to worry because he didn't show any anger. Might he understand me? Because if not, he would argue again with me, perhaps? My emotions seemed like controlling each other, and every time I wished to be with Severus for a long time, the more my seriousness appeared in his front. But I think it was fine because I really don't want to bother him with my situation. I knew he would worry about me and it would affect his campaign. While I'm driving, I found myself taking a deep breath. I could not stop myself not to think about that, but I have lots of things to do rather than telling him the things that could make him worry. I drove my car away from his office and decided to go to Metablak Pack. I wanted to know the plan that I told Andrasi. I looked straight to my way back home. I would prepare myself first before going somewhere since I only wore a casual dress. After a while, I reached my home and I didn't park my car in the parking area because I need to hurry. I ran faster upstairs and changed my clothes. I typically wore my jeans and black shirt. Because I didn't want someone to recognize me, especially the haters of the witch. Because even though I helped Andrasi to gain power against the hooligans before, some of her citizens hate witches and I didn't have a right to blame them because I wanted them to have freedom of speech. Andrasi, I will go to your pack right now. I hope that your outline plan is okay. I called her and she immediately answered me politely. Don't worry. Everything is okay. Andrasi replied, and it gave me a brief smile. Even though she was the first time alpha female that I met, she did not disappoint me in everything I wished for. She was a good friend to me since I put my trust in her in terms of human law. Okay. See ya. I ended up in our line and immediately went downstairs. I grabbed my things and carried them behind my back. Where are you going this night? I halted my steps as I heard my uncle not too far from my location. Here's POV. I slowly looked back and I saw Uncle Lucio standing in the certain door. He was looking at his wristwatch when he averted his gaze away from it and looked at me suspiciously. I didn't notice that it was already 8 in the evening. I scratched my nape as I looked at him. I knew he was worried about me since he did not want to let me go outside without any companion. Here, where are you going? He narrowed his eyes as he asked me again. And I felt that he was trying to figure out what I'm planning to do. I could escape from his eagle-like eyes and I was sure that he knew if I'm telling the truth or not. He was really a father to me because he always is superior to me like my grandfather. Sorry uncle, but I have to go to Metablak Pack, I replied politely. I kept my eyes directly on him so he would never think of any suspicion toward me. He stared at me seriously. He was figuring me out if I'm telling the truth or not. He knew me very well because he was the only man that witnessed my growth. My eyes were not moving wildly at him. However, I still saw from his eyes that I still didn't convince him of a little explanation. Might be because I didn't tell him my plan why I would go to Andrasi's pack. Because I'm trying to put it in secret to anyone except Andrasi. Since I wanted to learn human law without their consent before showing them in our pack. Why? Why do you need to go there in this late night? Do you have someone be with you this night? Uncle asked me, and it really gave me a headache. Yeah. And I will not have the strength to go there this night if I don't, right? So don't worry. I'll be back the next day. I replied and give him a polite kiss on his cheek. He did not reply to me, and it was a relief for me who told him a pure lie. I smiled at him and he nodded his head. For the first time, I lied to him, but it was not a matter to me this time because I have to do much more important than this. And before he asked again, I get a chance and quickly walked away. I just waved my hand to say goodbye and drove my car. Sigh. I found myself sighing. I successfully made my precious lie from my entire life. I fastened my seatbelt and drove the car away. I looked at my digital clock and I noticed that I would take another 2 hours before I reached the Metablack. It was located far from the city and it was likely a ghost town since the hooligans attacked them before. I kept my eyes on the driveway hoping that my journey would become safe until 1 hour passed. Fortunately, there was no hindrance and my trip would be okay. Andrasi, I will arrive 50 minutes from now. Please wait for me. I called Andrasi to inform her. Here, please take care. I will send you my armies so they can escort you toward here. I really felt better when I heard Andrasi's offer. Don't worry, I can handle myself. But if you please, it's okay. I replied. Okay. See you later. Andrasi cut out the line and I felt another relief while I'm taking the open field on their pack. I knew I was near their pack. Suddenly, I felt that something was blocking way not too far. I drove my car slower until I reached the location. The way was too creepy. The towering trees were aligned with the street. And even anyone would tell that it was really the opposite of the city. There were no street lights and only the bright full moon showed its brightness to enlighten the street. I scanned the area but I could not see anything that blocked the way. I shrugged my shoulder and continued driving. Brake. I was nearly in an accident if I didn't stop the brake. There was a large log that lay horizontally in the middle of the road. I rolled my eyes because of this shit log. I stopped my car and used my headlights to enlighten me out of the car. But before I get off, I sensed something around me. I scanned the area and the smell I sensed previously was getting stronger. RRRRR. The sounds of their gritted teeth entered my ears and their heavy breaths were now invading their heavy steps. 1, 2, 3. I counted them but I thought they were not just hooligans that trying to provoke me. Because I smell their blood, the blood mixed with human drugs. I knitted my eyebrows and turned off my lights. I would fight them in the dark where they belong to. They became my first step to training myself. I glared at the dark and their massive shadows appeared one by one in the dark. I looked at my digital clock. I have 45 minutes left in my time and I would kill this shitty wolves in early as 4 minutes. I clenched my hands into fists and I felt my body's temperature getting high. I felt that my eyesight gets blurred in 3 seconds and when I opened it, my night vision of mine become more clear than before. My nails become sharper and I thought that it was enough to leave a good scar and wounds to their body. The fear inside me before get rid and I felt the new me in the blood of the 2 clans. 4, 5, 6. They were getting numerous. I knew that they were not just ambushing me but they planned it before I came here. I shook my head as I thought about that. They were not just mere werewolves but massive ones like the fighters in the Western Pack battle. and they were similar to them because of the drugs that ran down their veins. Who's the fuck set me to kill by this fucker? I angrily growled by myself as I readied to go out of my car. And when I stepped into the middle of the road, I saw their numbers. There were 30 of them, and it was enough to the amateur fighters like me. I closed my sharp-pointed nails before I stood in the front of my car. They surrounded me while the others were slowly walking downhill. I grinned widely and I tilted my head on the left side. I waited for them to come over before they felt the sweetness of death. I crossed my leg as I inclined on the front of the car while they were showing their exhibition. My hands were really itchy and it was ready to cut the heads of these fragile monsters. And I built a good idea. Those fuckers were enough for me to know who was their master, who showed them no mercy before I killed them. Third-person POV. The full moon enlightened the entire street. Only the shadow of the towering trees darkened the area. 30 of the hooligan wolves waiting for the battle against Hirre. Hirre didn't feel any shivering at this moment. She just waiting for the attack. She kept her eyes around her and sharpened her senses so he could feel the incoming attack. Suddenly, an unknown man jumped from somewhere in the dark. Hirre thought that he came from the upper part of the tree. And he stepped into the middle of the road. He was wearing a black suit and his face was fully covered. Hirre knitted her eyebrows. She didn't feel any sense of familiarity with this intruder. Hirre tightened her hands as she felt the strong force coming from this man. She smelled something strange even though he was still in the form of human. "Who are you?" Hirre bravely asked the man as she stood firmly the front of her car. And even though she was asking, she never let her guard down. "It's not the right time to ask that then, Mississippi." "Hillary. Keck." His voice was low and seemed like came from the depth of the hell. Hirre could not tell who was this fucker trying to ruin her journey. "Then? I think you are the one who lives in this world to set people in danger. But sad to say, you deal with the wrong person. You shitty bastard." Hirre cursed the man who laughed at her instead. It made Hirre feel annoyed. She lost her temper as the man laughed as loud as a demon. "Boo-wah-ha-ha-ha. Until now you still brave Hillary. It's good to see you the same as before," the unknown man replied as he put his hands inside his pocket. "What do you want? You pushover jerk." Hirre growled as she gritted her teeth in anger. She could not wait to smash the head of this man. She clenched her hands into fists and she felt her blood was boiling. "I think our conversation is done. Your itchy mouth needs to be cut off." The unknown man growled back and his comrade wolves walked toward Hirre. "Shit. Are they trying to massacre me here?" Hirre stuttered as she saw how the wolves make fun of her. Their teeth were sharp and pointed, which could cut her arms and legs as they took a snag. Hirre saw the wolves running toward her. She didn't have a choice but to fight them even though she was alone. She jumped and darted into the trees around the road. Hirre used the branches to make her steps faster as she jumped on them one time. But even she tried to do that, she could hear the feet of the wolves following her. The branches cracked every time their heavy paws stepped on it. "Shit." Hirre growled as she looked back and saw 3 wolves running faster than her. She averted her gaze away from them and threw it on the ground. She felt anger because she saw another wolf running below her and the unknown man approaching her car. The more made her anger was the man that seemed like playing with her with his fucking werewolf. She fastened her movement but she could hear the growl of the werewolf on her back. Thud. She heard an echoing sound from below, and how surprised she felt when she saw the unknown man using his fist to smash the side part of the car. F to the power of CK. She widened her eyes as she saw her car bump into a tree trunk like a helpless toy car. It was crashed when it hit the tree. She jumped from the highest tree and used her force to bounce and landed on the ground with the wolves that followed after her. She wanted to take revenge because of her expensive car. She was hoping that 6 of the werewolf that followed her would be dead if she fight against them. Her breath was heavy and beads of sweat running down her forehead. She closed her eyes and felt the inner strength that calling her. She heard the steps of the enemies halted on her back. She felt the heartbeat of the wolves. She could not deny on herself that she felt different to them than to the hooligans that she encountered before. Clap. 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 Nice stunt here. Anyway, did you love my performance? The man growled as he gave a round of applause to Hirre. He kept on making annoyance to Hirre. He jumped again on the towering tree and watched Hirre glare her eyes as she opened it. Show me how powerful you are, Hillary. The man added as he saw Hirre's beast mode. And even though he was fully covered, he was smirking under his face mask. Hirre could not control herself. She wanted to start killing the wolves that now surrounded her. She opened her hands and she jumped toward one of the wolves. She used her sharp nails to cut the neck of the wolf. And because she moved faster like lightning, the wolf she attacked could not do anything even to protect himself. He was laid on the ground breathless and the other wolves were stunned. They could not imagine that Hirre would fight like this. After killing one of the enemies, the wolves attacked her. They came from every direction but Hirre could sense them wherever they were. She let the wolves come closer before she used her full strength to kick them in every direction. They hit the tree trunk and it causes them to yelp in pain. And Hirre used this as an opportunity to kill them one by one. She jumped over their back and used her strength to pull out their head on their body. She also sent them flying in the air when she slid on the ground to kick them on the belly. Hirre felt happiness as she heard a sweet lullaby of pain coming from the wolves. And it wasn't stopped by this because the remaining wolves attacked her. They growled as they run toward me. They were more massive in size than the first batch that attacked her. But she didn't show any fear even though she felt something from them. She darted again on the tree trunk and flipped in the air. She used her feet to smash them on the ground. Every wolf she hit received a good thud on the tree and sometimes on the ground. The blood spurted on her body. She was suddenly stunned as she smelled something from their blood. She knitted her eyebrows as she found what it was. Shit. She muttered to herself, but before she continued, she felt a hard grip on her hair. Thud. And for a second, she found herself whimpering when she sat on the tree. She felt her spine was dislocated because of the strong force that she received from the enemy. Because of the great hit, the tree was nearly cut in half. The wood's parts scattered around and the dust blew away by the wind. And when she looked back at where she came from, the unknown man standing looking at her. She could not stand for a while because of the pain she felt. There was blood that flowed on her lip but she knew it would heal faster. Her knees were shivering as she stood. She swept the blood on the side of her lip and walked straight again when she felt okay. She knew that it was hard to defeat this man if she didn't have proper training. And even she felt angry toward the unknown man. She decided to escape before she was killed by the remaining wolves and this unknown monster. She jumped again up to the tree to escape. Here's POV. Shit. only words that escaped my mouth as I run away. I knew I could not defeat the numbers of wolves that now chasing me to death. I could not handle the hard breath and made me feel hard to escape. I kept on jumping into every tree to get out of this place. Unfortunately, the place I was in was so unfamiliar, and even though I traced all directions, I could not sense the way to exit the forest where I entered. Pant. 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 My breath was panting as I stopped for a while behind the massive tree trunk. I looked behind me but I could not sense them. I kept quiet and the deafening silence filled the entire surrounding. I guessed they were getting tired following me since they chased me for almost 20 minutes. Or might be they didn't know the forest like what I did. And if that was the case, we would be fair enough to face each other. I inclined my back straight to the trunk and I took a deep breath. My sweats flowed and I could hear the sound of it every time it dripped on the dry ground. However, after a few moments of pause, the rotten smell of the hooligans that trying to capture me became stronger. They were getting closer to my location and I didn't have any choice but to fight. I just waited behind the tree and when I smell one of them were running toward me, I strengthened my legs and jumped to him as he passed through the tree where I hiding. I grabbed his belly and sent him to the dirty ground. We rolled over the dusty forest floor and we halted on his top. I growled at him and used my hands to choke his throat. But it was not easy to do because he was struggling and wanted to put me on the ground. His paws were bigger than my head and one wrong movement I did would kill me. But I would not let my guard down. I need to capture this jerk to know the real identity of the unknown man that destroyed my car. I gritted my teeth in anger, keeping myself not to bother by his struggle. I pinned him tightly and punched his soft underbelly. I heard his deep voice yelping in pain. He growled and I saw his sharp teeth trying to bite my wrist. He was not too strong so I could grab him without difficulty. "You jerk. You need to die." Ugh. I sharpened my nails and struck his neck. I felt my fingers inside his hard flesh and for the second time, I smell something like rotten flesh. They were really disgusting and it was pretty good since I just broke their neck and not to spurt their blood out. After killing another, I looked back as I heard the steps coming toward me. I knew they smelled the disgusting blood of their comrade and it would be my advantage to kill them. I quickly went to meet them in their path. There were remaining 3 massive wolves but they never put me in the state of being surprised since I ready myself for this. And before I thought about the situation, I quickly spun on their way. I created a dusty surrounding so they would never be noticed by the attack, and when I successfully made my plan, I heard them growl and I knew they were upset about what I did. Eventually, my final attack would have occurred. I stepped on the tree again and used it to become my dartboard to send myself to their weak point. Only their yelps and growls were heard before the dust disappeared. And their dead body was shown, which made me feel relieved. But I knew there was more. The unknown man was not showing himself. I looked around and scanned the area. The darkness filled the forest and his senses were not there. I knitted my eyebrows because even though he was not there, I felt his dangerous aura. I felt my heartbeats begin to beat faster again. I knew it was not just simple, it would be dangerous for me to face him, especially if he ruined my car that I would use to run away. "Harsha, are you feeling okay?" I asked my wolf to make sure she fully recovered by the past few days of our resting. "Yeah. Don't worry, We contain the witch's blood and it is already in our body. You can use it to fight that jerk." Harsha replied, "And it gives me hope to kill the bastard." But I suddenly thought about the witch's ability, and even though the world turned upside down, I did not know how to cast even a little trick of magic. I halted for a while and wore a frown as I asked Harsha, "But I don't know how?" I hesitated. "Sigh. Don't worry. Even if you don't know how to use it, if the witch's blood is really in your blood, you can do it," Harsha argued in response. But I was still in the atmosphere of being empty-minded about witchcraft. Thud. But before Harsha replied to me, I heard an echoing sound in my front. I halted, gasping for my breath as I saw the unknown man standing on my way out. Shit. Why he was so fast? I muttered to myself as I saw him standing firmly. I heard his breath and it seemed like he doesn't care about the hardship of following me over time. I did not avert my gaze away from him. I wanted to know every detail of his body, even his smell. His shadow looked so creepy every time the dusty air passed by his dark image. "Harsha, do you sense his wolf?" I asked my wolf, but I could not receive any answer from her. I thought she was preparing for the nearly battle. "Never mind," I muttered, and I kept myself ready for the attack that this man would send later. And while I'm glaring at him, his appearance suddenly turned into something horrible. I felt like I was in a horror movie, encountering a ghost that gave me goosebumps. I could not move as I saw his hidden wolf. He was massive and his appearance was different from the other wolves that I encountered before. He really made me shiver down my spine, and I felt my throat getting dry as I kept standing like a statue 15 meters away from him. Here's POV. I could not be moved until the man turned into a massive wolf. He was really horrible with his look. He was taller than a normal human if he was standing. His teeth were sharp and even his eyes were burning like a fireball in the dark. His ears pointed the dark sky, and his sharp nails and long fingers could tear everything into pieces. He was all covered by the thick black fur that surrounded his entire body, mostly his arms, legs, and his face. And when I figured out his real identity, he was not just a normal wolf but a lycan. And I never thought why this kind of creature trying to stop my journey to the Metablack Pack. From his terrifying aura and his muscular body, I could distinguish him as a high-class lycan. But why is a lycan chasing me to death? What did he want from me? Is he have a connection with the hooligans that attacked the Western Pack, or the person behind my real identity revelation? Lots of question marks appeared in my mind as I thought about his intent. And even I thought about that, I could not reach the reason behind it. "What you want for me?" I growled to catch his attention, but he was still transforming himself into a real monster. And when I felt he was serious about what he doing, I didn't have any choice but to do what Harsha told me. I clenched my hands into fists and tried to manipulate the power of the witch's blood. I need to know what ability I have so I could defeat the lycan in my front. I felt myself, my surrounding, and my body. And I heard my power containing my bloodstream. I also heard every step that he made toward me. His eagerness to kill me, the movement he planned, I felt them. But I did not know how to use the witch ability carefully. After knowing the things I learned from him, I glared at him and smirked widely, ear to ear. And before he ran toward me, I went sideways so that he would not notice me, since there were lots of trees standing around us. And when I caught my way, Elle jumped on the tree to come closer to him. I kicked his back and he was slammed on the ground hard. And it was my chance to jump over his body. I quickly went to his unguarded back, but before I stepped on it, he felt my movement and quickly dodged it. I was sliding on the dirty ground when he immediately turned his body. Thud. I rolled over the dirty ground and dry leaves. And how unfortunate, because he jumped over me and attempted to open his mouth that filled with sharp and pointed teeth. He growled in my front, while he stepped my legs. I felt pain when his sharp nails pierced my skin deep to my bone. Arg! I growled as I yelped in pain. I didn't expect that he was so big that could smash me if he wanted. He kept his sharp nails in my flesh and I thought I would pee because of this pain. Suddenly, I felt his hand clenching my torso and I found myself sent in the air until I hit the tree trunk. And before I'm jaw transforming as my wolf, he could grab me without difficulty. Thud. I was dragged on the ground and when I tried to get up, another kick made me fly again to slam on the ground. I could not resist myself not to feel more anger as I saw him walking toward me. I felt he was mocking my weakness when he looked at me disgustingly. I kept my eyes on him and I could not stop myself not to curse his appearance. F to the power of CK. His face was horrible and it looked more terrifying as he glared at me. But at this moment, I didn't feel any fear because I was focused on the anger I felt from him. Since it was more dangerous than his strength. I closed my eyes for a second. And when I opened it, the leaves that scattered around the forest descended into the air. I could not believe what I saw and even this unknown man was amazed at what happening around us. However, I did not give him more attention because I needed to focus on what I'm doing. And when I saw him unguarded, I took my chance to get my reputation back. I ran toward him and jumped high in the air. And before I reached his location, Harsha comes out. I finally got him and he was slammed on the ground heavily because of my strength. We rolled on the ground but I didn't let my guard down again. And when I was on top, I used my strength to halt and stepped on his belly. But it was really hard for me because every time he was struggling, my balance was lost because he was larger than me. But it's not a matter if my anger came out. I will kill you. Arg! I muttered to myself when I tried to step on his neck. But he seemed not worried because he just grabbed my arm and threw me away. And for a second time, I was rolled on the ground again and I almost hit the sharp stones on the slopes area. Might be he was strong enough to do the same thing all over again. Or might be I was not powerful to defeat him. Sigh, I sighed in myself as I thought about it. I quickly stood and faced his direction again. I turned back to my normal appearance. There was fresh blood that flowed from the tip of my right lip. I walked firmly as I swept my blood away. And when I walked, my wounds and bruises healed. He was standing 10 meters away from me, giving me his monstrous eyes. But I didn't care about it. I didn't waste any time again and immediately ran toward him. I used my power to give him what he deserved. I took a deep breath before I give him a nice kick. He was sent away but it was not enough, I need to give him more. I used my strength to jump high and transformed again into a wolf before I landed on his body. And before he planned to throw me again, I bit his neck and wagged my head to give him a deep wound while my hands and feet were on his body. He growled in pain but I didn't show any mercy to him. I wanted to repay the things he did to me, especially to my car. After this, I clenched my hands to pin his arms widely. I wanted to see his face personally, but seemed like even in death, he would not. I kept on pinning him on the ground and decided to finish his worthless life. But suddenly, I heard a familiar voice coming behind me. "Don't kill him here." Here's POV. I looked immediately behind me where the sound coming from. And even if it would make me unguarded, I reluctantly looked back. I saw Severus standing with two knights that were unfamiliar to me. What the hell is Severus doing here? I thought as I looked at him. And because of my shitty action, the lichen below me gets a chance to push me hardly. I blew like a feather as he used his force to push me away from him. And because I didn't ready for this, he easily executed his plan. But before I slammed into the ground, Severus quickly moved to catch me. He grabbed me and we rolled on the dirty ground. We halted as we reached the upright root. Suddenly, I heard the snarling and snapping of the wolves behind us. I quickly moved away from Severus as I looked back. The lichen wanted to attack Severus and me, but the two knights blocked his way. They fought and I saw how strong the lichen and his ability in fighting was a little hindrance to the knights. I readied myself to help the two, but Severus immediately grabbed my arms. "Don't do that here." He growled at me, but I didn't listen to him. Because he was the reason why the enemy that I wanted to kill was now escaping in the hands. I glared at him as I retorted, "No. I can't let that shit live. Don't be stubborn here." He pulled me closer to him, but I struggled. He shook his head as he stood. Sigh. He sighed deeply as he gets off his hand on my arms. He did not talk again, but I felt what he wanted to do. He transformed himself into a massive wolf. I was hypnotized as I saw his wolf for the first time. His grayish-white fur and his bluish-green eyes could compare to a deep ocean. He was massive compared to me. And when he finished transforming, he looked at me and glared at me. I could not speak as I was stunned by his appearance. I didn't know that he had that beautiful wolf inside him. Either form he was, his appearance was gorgeous. And I didn't notice that he was now fighting against the lichen. They rolled over the dirt and leaves. And the lichen seemed to like having strength storage inside him because he was still strong even though many wolves were fighting him. I stood away from them, watching their defensive and fighting skill. And I was amazed by both of them. Suddenly, I heard the echoing sounds of the helicopter's screw propeller. And after that, were the people approaching us. I saw many of them were wearing black suits and have a gun. And when I looked up, I saw my grandpa and uncle sitting there. I knew they were here to rescue me, but I didn't know who told them that I'm here. And when I averted my gaze away from them, I saw the lichen struggling to escape. And because Severus was surrounded by wounds, he did not chase the lichen by himself. He let the knights chase him to death. Severus looked at me and I saw from his eyes the uncertainties and worries. I stepped closer to him, silently. But he ignored me as I approached him. I felt he was angry at me for not telling him the things I planned. And the people who came for me hurriedly ran to give me a towel to cover my body. I didn't continue my plan to talk with him when my grandpa came with my uncle. They embraced me tightly as they get closer to me. I felt their warmth. "Thanks, Goddess, you are safe." My grandpa was about to cry as he spoke. He could not stop himself not to embrace me, and still because of the worries that I used to make him feel. "I am so sorry, Grandpa." Only those words escaped my mouth. I felt sorry for not seeking his approval for going to the Metablack Pack in this late at night. It's okay. The important is you are safe. Thanks to Andrasi, and she told us that you didn't come in exact time," he replied as he departed from me. And after hearing that, I secretly looked at Severus. He was talking with the knights that chased the enemy recently. From their reaction, I knew they failed to chase the lichen. Might be that lichen knew the forest very well. But how could it happen if there was a helicopter and knights that chasing him? Is he that fast to escape from them? No matter what, it puzzled me around. "Here, did you ever recognize the culprit?" Uncle Lucio asked me. I knew he was mad at me because I did not tell the truth to him when he asked me before. "No. But he is not a simple rouge or hooligan. He is good at fighting, and there is a rotten smell coming from their blood when I killed his comrade," I replied, "and even I could not distinguish the smell that I sense in their body. I think the hidden pack is now descending again," Grandpa muttered, but I heard him, and the pack that he talking about was the Desdemonian pack. "Don't worry, Grandpa. I will never let that enemy ruin our world," I replied, and he immediately looked at me wondering. I just caressed his back and he gave me a nod. "Speaking of which, where is a friend that you told to be with you before you go?" Uncle asked me, and I was surprised. I bit my finger as I looked at him. I didn't know how to tell them that I told a lie. "Arg!" I growled in myself. I didn't know how to tell him everything. But seemed like the goddess give me a chance when Uncle Lucio shook his head as he tapped my head. "Here, I know you don't have any, right? Sigh. I told you to have a companion. Did you know that without the help of Severus and Andrasi, you are still fighting with them? What if they kill you?" Uncle scolded me, but I could not defend myself because I know that I'm wrong for that. "I'm so sorry, Uncle. Don't worry, this is my last time to break the rules of yours," I replied politely. Sigh. "Go to the helicopter right now. You need to cure by Mr. Lionheart," he ordered me, and I immediately followed him since I felt tired after having a long fight with those hooligans. Severus's POV. After Hirre left me in the office, I didn't know what she planned to do. She becomes cold and serious while talking with me. And I still felt that when she decided to go away without me. The first I felt anger about her stubbornness. And I felt I was useless for her. I let her go out and I waited a long time seeking her sorry. Until the night come and I heard from Andrasi that she was not coming yet. I was surprised when I heard that Hirre going to Metablak by herself. Even though I was in the state of being mad, I decided to find her to escort her to her journey. I was in the middle of my journey when I saw Hirre's car, scattered all around. I was worried about her plus the wolves that lay on the ground breathless. I sensed her wolf and she was 1 kilometer away from the main road. And aside from her blood, a familiar scent made me feel anger. Hirre was in danger. I need to save him from that fucker.